The Baylor murder scandal, when teammate killed teammate. The Baylor University basketball scandal of 2003 is one of the darkest, most shocking moments in college sports history. It began with the disappearance of Patrick Dennehy, a forward on the Baylor Bears, in June of that year. Dennehy had transferred from the University of New Mexico and was preparing for a new season alongside teammate Carlton Dotson, unaware that this chapter would end in tragedy. Weeks passed without any word from Dennehy. Concern quickly escalated among family, friends, and teammates. Then, in July 2003, authorities found his decomposed body in a field outside Waco, Texas. He had suffered fatal gunshot wounds to the head. Early media reports sensationalized the injuries, claiming decapitation, but official records later clarified the nature of his death. Violent, but without decapitation. Carlton Dotson, Dennehy's teammate and last known person to see him, soon became the prime suspect. Investigators uncovered that both had recently purchased guns, citing fear for their safety. When questioned, Dotson confessed to the murder and later pleaded guilty, receiving a 35-year prison sentence. Yet the scandal went deeper. Baylor's head coach Dave Bliss had been secretly paying Dennehy's tuition, violating NCAA scholarship rules. To hide this, Bliss orchestrated a shocking cover-up. He instructed players and staff to spread lies that Dennehy was involved in drug dealing to pay his tuition. Bliss allegedly threatened to fire assistant coaches who resisted participating in this deception. The cover-up unraveled when secret recordings surfaced, capturing Bliss coaching others on how to maintain the false narrative for investigators and media alike. The fallout devastated Baylor's basketball program and reputation. The NCAA imposed harsh penalties, probation, scholarship cuts, and recruiting restrictions. Though Baylor avoided the death penalty that would shutter the program, the sanctions ranked among the most severe ever handed down. The tragedy highlighted not just institutional corruption, but also the unseen mental health struggles behind the crime. Dotson reportedly suffered paranoia and psychological issues before the murder, though he was found competent for trial. Decades later, this dark chapter remains a sobering reminder of what happens when integrity is abandoned, exposing the fragility of college sports programs and the real human costs hidden behind headlines. Transitioning from tragedy on campus to tragedy off the court, we turn now to a death that shook the nation and reshaped American drug policy.
Len Bias, the death that changed America's drug war.
The sudden death of Len Bias in 1986 sent shockwaves far beyond college basketball. Bias was a dazzling forward for the University of Maryland and widely regarded as one of the greatest prospects of his generation. When the Boston Celtics selected him second overall in the NBA draft, fans dreamed of a new Larry Bird, an era-defining superstar in the making. But just 2 days after the draft, tragedy struck. At just 22 years old, Bias died suddenly in his dorm room. An autopsy revealed cardiac arrest caused by cocaine intoxication, specifically cocaine of unusually high purity that triggered a swift and fatal heart failure. The sports world was stunned. Fans and family alike were left to grieve a life and career cut impossibly short. But Bias's death ignited more than sorrow. It unleashed a political and social firestorm that reverberated for decades. Rumors spread quickly. Many falsely claimed Bias had used crack cocaine instead of powder. Though these allegations were disproven, the misinformation shaped public perception and hastened political action. In response, Congress passed the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986. This law established mandatory minimum sentences for drug offenses and created a severe sentencing disparity between crack and powder cocaine possession. While designed to combat drug abuse, the legislation disproportionately targeted Black Americans and played a significant role in fueling mass incarceration. Critics like Eric Sterling, a key aide in crafting the law, later condemned it, saying it completely destroyed the federal justice system and tarnished the reputation of the whole American justice system. Bias's death also inspired a wave of self-reflection and prevention efforts. His mother, Lenice Bias, became a prominent advocate against drug use, sharing that many told her the day Len died was the day they quit cocaine. Ultimately, the death of Len Bias stands as a heartbreaking cautionary tale, not only of lost potential, but of a nation's flawed response to crisis, where tragedy intertwined with policy to create a lasting, complex legacy. From the personal and tragic, the story now shifts to systemic corruption, unveiling the dark underbelly of college basketball's recruiting world. The FBI corruption scandal. We have your playbook. In September 2017, the FBI rocked college basketball with a sweeping investigation that exposed bribery and corruption at the highest levels. The federal probe arrested 10 individuals, including 4 Division I assistant coaches, revealing a tangled web of illegal payments involving coaches, financial advisors, and shoe company executives. 2 major schemes were uncovered. The coach bribery scheme involved coaches accepting cash to direct players to specific agents and financial managers once they turn professional. The Company One scheme involved Adidas executives funneling money to the families of top recruits to secure commitments to Adidas-sponsored school. Among those arrested were assistant coaches Chuck Person, Lamont Evans, Emmanuel Book Richardson, and Tony Bland. These coaches allegedly accepted bribes and used their influence over players. Richardson was accused of accepting $20,000 and paying a recruit to attend Arizona. Person reportedly took over $90,000 and gave tens of thousands more to families of Auburn players. The investigation's scope went well beyond these arrests, implicating powerhouse programs like Kansas, Louisville, North Carolina State, and Miami. Court testimony revealed how apparel companies, especially Adidas, blurred amateur and professional lines by buying influence to control recruiting decisions. The phrase, "we have your playbook," came from wiretapped calls, symbolizing how deeply the FBI infiltrated the recruiting networks and how widespread corruption was. A glaring issue arose around racial disparity in accountability. All 4 coaches arrested and banned were black, while high-profile white coaches linked to implicated programs, including Rick Pitino of Louisville, faced no criminal charges and eventually returned to coaching. A former Adidas employee noted that black coaches were low-hanging fruit for prosecutors, raising serious questions about selective enforcement and systemic bias in college basketball's power structure. The scandal sparked nationwide conversations about NCAA amateurism rules, the undue influence of apparel companies, and ethics in college sports. It intensified calls for recruiting reform and better protections for athletes being exploited as pawns in a lucrative business. The 2017 FBI investigation stands as one of the most significant and far-reaching events in recent college basketball history, shining a harsh light on corruption while igniting urgent debates about race, fairness, and the future of the sport. Moving from corruption within the recruiting world, we now delve into the insidious impact of gambling and point-shaving scandals that have long threatened the game's integrity. Point-shaving scandals, when gambling corrupted the game. Point-shaving scandals have long cast a dark shadow over college basketball, exposing the sport's susceptibility to gambling syndicates and organized crime. The manipulation of game outcomes for financial gain struck at the heart of college hoops' integrity, with some of the most infamous cases dating back to the late 1970s. One of the most notorious scandals involved the Boston College basketball team during the 1978-79 season. The operation was orchestrated by members of the Lucchese crime family, a powerful mafia faction with a history of involvement in illegal gambling. Central to the scheme was Henry Hill, a mob associate whose life story would later inspire the classic film Goodfellas. Hill and his cohorts recruited Boston College players Rick Kuhn and Jim Sweeney, convincing them to deliberately manipulate the margin of victory in games. Unlike outright losing, the players were tasked with shaving points, ensuring that the team won by less than the point spread set by bookmakers. This subtle manipulation allowed savvy gamblers to place bets with inside knowledge, guaranteeing profitable outcomes. The players were paid to keep the final scores within agreed parameters, turning college games into orchestrated events designed to enrich the criminal network. The scheme unraveled in 1980 after Hill was arrested on unrelated charges. To cut a deal and avoid a lengthy prison sentence, he cooperated with federal authorities, revealing the full extent of the point-shaving conspiracy. Kuhn and others were indicted, with Kuhn receiving a 10-year prison sentence, the harshest punishment handed to a college athlete involved in point shaving up to that point. The scandal shocked the nation, exposing the vulnerability of financially strapped student athletes who often lack the resources and support to resist such coercion. Point-shaving scandals didn't end there. Decades later, the University of San Diego found itself embroiled in a similar case involving former players Brandon Johnson and Brandon Doughty, along with assistant coach T.J. Brown. Federal authorities revealed that Brown acted as a middleman, connecting players to gamblers through an FBI informant working to reduce his own sentence. Again, the players were accused not of throwing games outright, but of deliberately manipulating the margin to benefit gamblers. Johnson was convicted on multiple counts, reaffirming that point shaving remains a persistent threat. These cases highlight how the pressures facing college athletes, financial instability, exposure to gambling culture, and insider access create opportunities for corruption. As legalized sports betting rapidly expands across the United States, the NCAA and law enforcement agencies face renewed challenges in safeguarding the integrity of college basketball.
These historical and ongoing scandals serve as stark reminders. Beneath the excitement and passion lies a fragile ecosystem vulnerable to exploitation. The fight to protect fair play continues, emphasizing the importance of vigilance and accountability in preserving the soul of the game. Shifting from gambling's corrosive influence to a scandal that struck at the very heart of academic integrity in college sports, academic fraud, the UNC fake classes scandal. While gambling scandals threatened the fairness of competition, the University of North Carolina's academic fraud scandal struck at the core of college sports' purported educational mission. Spanning nearly 2 decades, the scandal revealed a systematic effort to maintain athlete eligibility through sham classes, shaking public trust in the balance between athletics and academics. From the 1990s through 2011, UNC's Department of African and Afro-American Studies offered roughly 200 so-called lecture courses that either never met or required minimal effort to complete. These classes were designed as a facade, allowing students disproportionately athletes to maintain NCAA eligibility without fulfilling genuine academic requirements. Assignments often consisted of a single paper, graded leniently with little oversight. Independent study arrangements were similarly exploited, providing athletes a path to bypass real coursework. Although technically open to all students, these courses were overwhelmingly populated by athletes in high-profile sports like men's basketball and football. This preferential enrollment enabled star athletes to stay on the court despite academic shortcomings, undermining UNC's reputation as a university committed to educational integrity. The revelation sparked outrage among fans, academics, and the broader public, revealing a troubling conflict between athletic success and academic standards. UNC spent an estimated $18 million defending itself legally, conducting internal investigations that admitted to the existence of fraudulent classes. Yet the NCAA chose not to impose major sanctions, citing the inability to conclusively prove that the courses were created solely for athletes since non-athletes also enrolled. This decision drew heavy criticism, with many accusing the NCAA of a double standard and failure to hold a major program accountable. Despite the NCAA's limited response, UNC faced serious consequences. The Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, SACS, the regional accrediting body, placed UNC on probation for a year, an unprecedented and significant move that threatened the university's academic accreditation. This punitive measure underscored the gravity of the violations and signaled the seriousness with which the academic community viewed the scandal. More broadly, the UNC case illuminated the systemic tensions in big-time college sports, where the pressure to field winning teams sometimes clashes with the core mission of higher education. Critics argued that the drive to keep star athletes eligible fosters incentives to lower academic standards, compromising the value of a college degree. Reform advocates have pointed to UNC as a pivotal example illustrating the urgent need for stronger oversight, transparency, and a renewed commitment to academic integrity. Years after the scandal broke, it remains a powerful cautionary tale influencing ongoing debates about accountability, athlete support, and the true place of academics in collegiate sports programs. UNC's experience serves as a reminder that the pursuit of athletic glory must never come at the cost of educational honesty. From the struggle for fair play and academic integrity, we now confront a deeply personal crisis. Players unaliving themselves, the hidden mental health crisis. Some of the most heartbreaking chapters in college basketball aren't about games lost or championships missed. They're about lives lost. The suicides of college basketball players expose a hidden mental health crisis that too often goes unspoken, cloaked by public success and silent suffering. In August 2017, Ball State University mourned the death of Zachary Hollywood, a 19-year-old redshirt sophomore whose promising career was cut tragically short. Hollywood was more than just a talented forward. Teammates and coaches described him as a positive presence, someone who lifted the locker room spirit. Yet behind the scenes, he battled profound emotional pain. The loss of his mother just a year prior weighed heavily on him, compounding the pressure that student athletes often carry. On the day he died by suicide, Hollywood shared a haunting final message on Twitter. "Be careful what you say to everyone because you don't know what kind of battles they are going through." That tweet now stands as a solemn reminder of how hidden and pervasive mental health struggles can be. 6 years later, the Drexel University community was rocked by a similar tragedy. Terrence Butler, a respected 6'7" forward, died by suicide in his campus apartment. Known for his approachable nature and strong relationships with teammates, Butler's death stunned many who never saw signs of his internal battles.
Friends remembered him as everybody knew and everybody liked, showing how outward appearances can mask profound loneliness and despair. These heartbreaking cases are far from isolated. Players like Earl Badu at Maryland, Ricky Berry at Oregon State and San Jose State both ended their own lives. Each story speaks to the crushing weight of expectations, academic and athletic demands, public scrutiny, and personal hardships. The pressure cooker environment of college sports can amplify existing mental health issues, often without adequate support. Though awareness has grown, stigma remains a formidable barrier. Many athletes fear that admitting to struggles will be seen as weakness, threatening scholarships, playing time, or their future careers. Universities and athletic departments have taken steps, expanding counseling services and wellness programs designed specifically for athletes, yet gaps persist. These tragedies expose the urgent need for proactive mental health care that is accessible, confidential, and embedded in athletic culture. The suicides of Hollywood Butler and others serve as stark, painful reminders that talent and fame offer no shield from inner demons. Their losses underscore the imperative for empathy, early intervention, and a cultural shift that values mental well-being as much as physical fitness. In the high-stakes world of college basketball, saving lives means listening deeply and acting boldly. Transitioning from mental health tragedies to scandal-tainted legacies, the sport has also grappled with some of its most prominent figures falling from grace. The Michigan Fab Five scandal. Glory erased. The Michigan Fab Five, Chris Webber, Jalen Rose, Juwan Howard, Jimmy King, and Ray Jackson changed college basketball forever. Their swagger, style, and skill transformed the game in the early 1990s, leading Michigan to back-to-back NCAA finals in 1992 and 1993. But their legacy was forever altered by one of the most infamous scandals in college basketball history. The trouble centered on Ed Martin, a Detroit booster with deep ties to basketball circles. Investigations in 1999 uncovered that Martin had provided illegal financial support to several Michigan players. The most prominent was Chris Webber, who along with teammates received approximately $616,000 from Martin. This wasn't just booster generosity, it was tied to laundering money from an illegal gambling operation, blurring the lines between mentorship and corruption. Webber initially denied accepting money, testifying before a grand jury that he had never received any illicit payments. But under mounting evidence, he admitted to the truth and pleaded guilty to criminal contempt in 2003 for lying under oath. His NBA career faced consequences as well. Fines and suspensions followed. For the University of Michigan, the fallout was devastating. The school vacated all basketball victories from 1992 through 1998, including 2 Final Four appearances. Individual records and accomplishments were erased, stripping the Fab Five's achievements from official NCAA history. Alongside this, the program faced a series of harsh NCAA sanctions, probation, postseason bans, and reduced scholarships. Michigan also enforced a 10-year disassociation from Webber, barring him from contact with the program until 2013. Beyond the penalties, the scandal sparked a broader reckoning over college sports' amateurism model. The Fab Five's immense popularity had generated millions from jersey sales to ticket revenue, yet strict NCAA rules forbade them from receiving direct compensation. The scandal revealed a system where athletes generated vast wealth but remained financially constrained, often vulnerable to booster influence. Despite the official erasure, the Fab Five's cultural impact remains undeniable. Their bold style, raw talent, and defiant attitude reshapes college basketball's aesthetic and attitude, influencing generations of players. Yet their story is a bittersweet reminder of how the murky intersection of money, power, and athletics can destroy legacies and fracture trust. The Michigan Fab Five scandal stands as a lasting symbol of both basketball greatness and the dangerous consequences of an amateurism system struggling to reconcile profit and player welfare. From tarnished legacies to institutional collapse, the next scandal reveals how governance failures and player revolt shook a small program to its core. The St. Bonaventure scandal, academic fraud, and player revolt. 2003, all as no Division I program had ever refused to complete a season before. The scandal's reverberations were profound. The university's leadership was rocked. President Wickenheiser was compelled to resign after trustees labeled his actions as academic fraud. Several key figures, including athletic director Gothard Lane, Van Breda Kolff, and Court Wickenheiser, were placed on administrative leave. Tragically, William
Swan, chairman of the board of trustees, died by suicide amid the mounting pressure and chaos. The NCAA handed down severe sanctions, 3 years of probation, scholarship reductions, and a program left decimated both on and off the court. For the small Franciscan university nestled in Olean, New York, the scandal struck at the core of its identity. Basketball had been a source of pride and community cohesion, but the betrayal fractured that bond. Alumni publicly distanced themselves, some even removing class rings, while local fans grappled with watching their once proud program become a national punchline. The emotional toll was likened to a grieving process, as attendance plummeted, and the Bonnies endured a dismal 24-88 record over the subsequent 4 seasons. The road to redemption was slow but deliberate. Mark Schmidt's hiring in 2007 marked a turning point. His emphasis on integrity and community values slowly rebuilt trust. By 2012, led by future NBA player Andrew Nicholson, the Bonnies won the Atlantic 10 tournament and earned their first NCAA tournament bid since 2000. This victory symbolized more than a win. It was a communal exhale, a chance to finally turn the page on a dark chapter. The St. Bonaventure scandal remains a powerful cautionary tale of presidential overreach, compliance failure, and the human cost of prioritizing athletics over academics. It reshaped how smaller programs approach NCAA governance, reminding the sport that the foundation of college basketball rests not just on wins, but on integrity and trust. In March 2003, St. Bonaventure University became the epicenter of one of the most stunning institutional failures in NCAA basketball history. At the heart of the scandal was Jamil Terrell, a junior college transfer whose admission defied NCAA eligibility standards. Terrell held only a welding certificate from Coastal Georgia Community College, far short of the required associate's degree. Despite this, University President Robert Wickenheiser personally overruled compliance officers to allow Terrell's enrollment and participation on the basketball team. The situation was further complicated by the fact that Wickenheiser's son, Court, served as an assistant coach, deepening the conflict of interest and clouding the integrity of decision-making. When Terrell's ineligibility surfaced, the Atlantic 10 Conference responded swiftly. St. Bonaventure was forced to forfeit 6 conference wins and was banned from the Atlantic 10 tournament. The fallout sparked outrage within the team, leading to an unprecedented player revolt. The entire squad unanimously voted to boycott their remaining 2 regular season games against UMass and Dayton. Despite coach John Van Bredekolf's reported support for continuing the season, university administrators sided with the players. This act of defiance sent shockwaves across college basketball. Louisville's sex scandal and vacated title. 2015. Institutional corruption and the fall of a champion. In the annals of NCAA basketball, the 2015 University of Louisville sex scandal stands out as one of the most sordid and consequential ethical breaches, culminating in the historic vacating of a men's national championship over a 4-year span. Former Director of Basketball Operations Andre McGee orchestrated a disturbing series of events involving parties with strippers and prostitutes for recruits and players. Shockingly, some attendees were minors, amplifying the severity and human cost of the scandal. McGee, a former Louisville player turned staffer, paid escort Katina Powell over $10,000 to host at least 22 illicit parties at the team's dorm, Billy Minardi Hall. NCAA investigators confirmed these events violated strict rules prohibiting such conduct with recruits, describing the environment as directly at odds with college athletics and higher education. 15 prospects attended these parties, with 7 to 10 of them under the age of 18 at the time, raising potential criminal concerns that went beyond NCAA jurisdiction. Head coach Rick Pitino was found culpable for a Level 1 violation for failing to properly monitor McGee's activities. Pitino admitted neither he nor his assistants interacted with recruits after 10 p.m., effectively enabling McGee to conduct these gatherings unchecked. When exposed, Pitino initially denied knowledge, calling allegations inconceivable and deflecting blame onto McGee alone. Even after NCAA sanctions were handed down, Pitino and athletic director Tom Jurich criticized the penalties as excessive and vowed to appeal. The NCAA's response in 2017 was severe and unprecedented. Louisville was forced to vacate 123 wins from 2011 to 2015, including the 2013 national championship and 2012
2012 Final Four appearance, marking the first time a men's basketball national title was stripped. Additional sanctions included 4 years of probation, scholarship reductions, recruiting restrictions, and the forfeiture of over $600,000 in tournament revenue. McGee received a 10-year show cause penalty, effectively banning him from college athletics, while Pitino was suspended for 5 games before being fired. The scandal devastated the Louisville program's reputation and stability. The involvement of underage recruits elevated the case to a national ethical crisis. The university self-imposed a postseason ban in 2016, while ranked number 18.
U of L will be implementing a self-imposed postseason ban on the team this year,
sacrificing a promising tournament run. Subsequent investigations, including a separate FBI bribery probe, further unraveled the program, culminating in Pitino's permanent ouster. Louisville's scandal serves as a stark symbol of unchecked exploitation and institutional failure. It exposed how easily boosters and staffers could corrupt a program's culture, undermining athlete welfare and public trust.
The vacated championship stands not just as a lost trophy, but as a monument to moral collapse. A reminder that the pursuit of victory at all costs can destroy even the most storied programs. As the NCAA noted, this scandal was unlike any other in its depth and consequences, redefining the boundaries of collegiate corruption and forcing the sport to confront uncomfortable truths about power, responsibility, and ethics. These dark stories, from academic fraud to mental health tragedies and institutional corruption, remind us that college basketball is far more than a game. Behind the lights and highlight reels lie complex human struggles, ethical dilemmas, and systemic challenges that have shaped the sport's evolution. Each scandal, each tragedy, and each failure has pushed the NCAA, universities, and fans to reconsider what winning truly means and at what cost. As college basketball continues to grow and change, these cautionary tales stand as vital lessons. They underscore the urgent need for integrity, transparency, and compassion in a sport that inspires millions, but must also protect those who dedicate their lives to it. Because beyond the buzzer beaters and trophies, the true legacy of college basketball depends on the health, dignity, and honor of its players and institution.